Back then, the show was produced in Paul's parents' basement with TVs, multiple TVs, and multiple DVD player, not DVD players, but VCRs. Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. You've
I
seen that
do.
back in the day,
Sure.
and you know that back in the day when you would do that, you had to have a TV set on a certain station, so you could record. Um, so they had it set on MTV was what was on after the video had kicked off from being produced and they were viewing it and stuff. The video kicked off and MTV kicked immediately right on. And on MTV, it was Kid Rock looking up into the camera singing, I Want to Be a Cowboy. And he had the long hair. We just had a kind of had a similar look to us. And they just ran with it. Joey Styles said that looks like David Cash. And Tommy Dreamer and everybody agreed. And then the next thing you know, the somebody I think it was Joey. Joey came up with the word Kid Cash. And then he's the one that came up with Cash's money and and all that stuff. And that's how he kind of promoted me whenever, on TV. You are now Kid Cash. You know who Kid Rock is? And at that time I hadn't even heard of Kid Rock at the time. And I was like, no. He says, well, look him up, start dressing a little bit like him, don't cut the hair, just keep doing your thing. We'll get with the music guy and change your music and all that other stuff. And I went home after that weekend. I still at that weekend I wrestled at singles matches. But when I went home, I went to a place called Hot Topic. You
Sure.
remember Hot Topic?
Of course.
And I bought those the famous black pleather pants and
Mhm.
the shirt, the red shirt. So that's where I got it all. And then Chili Willie gave me the fedora.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. What were your interactions with Paul Heyman like?
We all, Paul and I always got along great. I mean, from the first day I met him, I had been wrestling in North Carolina the night before on a card with Rob Van Dam. Rob and I had already met, and we had instantly became like really good friends. Um, I mean, the first time we met, we just kind of really hit it off, had a lot of conversation, stuff like that. We didn't even really talk about wrestling. We were just having a conversation, talking and stuff as two buddies, And yeah, so I had a good match that one night, and Rob was like, "Dude, you need to be in ECW." And I was like, "Well, I don't know what ECW is," because I hadn't even heard of it at that point. And so he started telling me about it, and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, if you think it's a good place for work, then yeah, I'll give it a shot." So I went home that night because back then, I lived about 4 hours away from where I lived. So I just went on and drove back home. Well, by the time I got back home, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And back then, it was TNT, God, what was it? TNT or something like that? No, Fox Sports One, FS1.
Oh,
That's what it was. And it came on at like 2 o'clock in the morning and it was ECW. I literally just walked in the door. I just sat down and was relaxed, kicking off the road and stuff like that. And I turned on the TV and flipping through the channels, and then there it was. I'm sitting there watching it, and it was little Guido and Mikey Whipwreck, and they were tearing it up, having some really good, singles match. But I'm watching it, I'm like, well, fuck, I can do every damn. That's what I do. I do all that shit. I look better than those guys. You know what the.
right,
So I
right.
called Rob up and I was like, "Hey, I'm watching the show, man. It looks pretty cool." I was like, the crowd is very lively. He goes, is that last week's tape? I was like, I don't know what taping it is. He goes, are they talking about the ECW arena? And I was like, I've heard that. Yeah. He's like, yeah, dude, we're there tomorrow night. He goes, you ought to come up. He goes, I'll get you a match. He said, I think they'll like you. And I was like, Philadelphia. I live in Johnson City, Tennessee. I just literally drove from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Wow.
you know, and I was like, thought about it and jumped in the shower real quick, changed my wrestling bag out, packed a couple extra clothes, got in the car, filled it up at the gas station. I drove all the way to
Wow.
Philadelphia, man. I got there about 10:30 in the morning. Yeah, I drove like from 3 a.m. till 10:30 in the morning. Got there and took a nap in Rob's room. And from there, we went to the gym. And then from there, we went to the building. And when I walked in, Paul was in the far, he was, when you walked in the building, his little office deal was always to the right back there. So he took me around there and he's like, "Hey, this is my buddy David Jericho." And Paul looked up at me and he says, "Hello, David Jericho." He goes, "How's Ricky Morton?" And so he already knew who I was because back then, before the computer, there was dirt sheets,
Right.
and everybody read the dirt sheets. And if you were a smart mark, you were smart to go get the dirt sheets. You could order them, and I think Meltzer and guys Keller and all those guys used to write them up and all that shit. But yeah, so he had already heard about me and already knew who I was and stuff. So plus, him and Ricky Morton were pretty tight. We're pretty good friends and stuff. So um, I said, "Oh, he's doing pretty good." And he goes, "Good." He goes, "You have your gear?" And I was like, "I do." And he goes, "Good. You're on in 15 minutes." And I was like, "Okay." So in a 15-minute period, I went to the car, got my bag, came back inside, got thrown into a three-way dance match. So it turned into like a three-way tag team is what it was. I wound up tag teaming. I think I was tag teaming with Axel Rotten, and there was like T.J. Smith. There was like God Mikey Whipwreck, Hack Myers. There was just a bunch of guys in there, man. And, thrown together real quick. They didn't already had the match down. I just walked up and introduced myself, and I'm in the match now. So I just, at that point, the match was already called. So I just kind of threw out some of my moves there that I wanted to get in. And then I offered to take some, other people's stuff. And when I did that they instantly liked me because I didn't come in, only thing I want to do is bump people. I was like, "Hey, man," I was like, I watched you the other night, you want to do that one move on me, you want to do it on me.
Right.
And everybody was like, "Okay, kid's all right. Yeah, he's, he'll work with you."
Right.
Had a good match. Um, and what was really cool about it and what solidified it for Paul was that the ECW crowd was like really, really hard on people. They didn't bullshit around, man.
Right.
They actually made and broke a lot of people. They made and broke a lot of stars. Um, that arena, that fan base, there in Philly and everything like that was just extreme. It was completely extreme. So Tommy Dreamer stopped me at the curtain because back then I still dressed as the Rock and Roll Express. I still had the fringes down the side of the
Yeah.
pants and the
Right. Sure.
bandanas on around the legs and stuff like that, the boot covers and things like that. And so from there, he was like, "They're going to shit on you." He goes, "They're going to see your outfit. They're going to see you. They're going to shit on you." He goes,
Right.
"Don't let that bother you at all." And I was like, "Oh, I'm just happy to be here. I'm not worried about it. I'll, boom, boom, boom. You want me to stay baby or you want me to turn heel? What do you want me to do if they do shit on me? Stay baby. Okay, stay baby." So, dude, the music started playing. And when I went out, the crowd started chanting rock and roll.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like,
You never know with them. You never know.
exactly. So evidently the fans, the smart marks of that arena had already read the dirt sheets.
Right.
And yes, and I think at that point there was already some word about me being in the dressing room that day. So there was already some new word about me that people were reading up on. So by the time I got hit the ring, the people were already warmed up to me. They already knew who I was. Some people were cheering me, some people were booing me. Went out there and did my shit, and they popped for everything. And I took a really, really hard chair shot. Uh, it
Mhm.
bent completely over my fucking head. The chair literally bent over my head, and like that. I had to when I hit the ground, it was still connected to my head, and the impact is jarred it loose. Jarred it loose and broke it
Sure.
off. Yeah, man, it was it was pretty intense. But as soon as I was done, went back to the back, talked to Paul. I was like, "Hey, like, what'd you think?" He goes, "I loved it." I was like, "Great." I was like, "I'd like to come back sometime." He goes, "Good," because we're in Staten Island tomorrow night, and that's where that they just started there.